With a session daily update, I'm Chris Carpenter. DFL Representative Jay Zhang is expected to gavel in the House Veterans and Military Affairs Division shortly. There is just one agenda item before the panel this morning. It's a Representative Emma Greenman proposal that relates to veteran benefits assistance. In part, House File 1855 would require federal accreditation of for-profit veterans benefit services providers and also prohibits providers from making a guarantee of veterans benefits. We begin this morning in G23 of the Capitol. Let's join members for the hearing.
Bliss. Approval of minutes. Vice Chair Hemmingson Yeager, have you had a chance to look at the minutes?
Yes, so move their approval.
All those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The minutes are approved. The first bill on the agenda is House File 1855. Members, I had a conversation with Chair Bliss last night. The original intention was to move this to the Judiciary Committee, but after having a conversation with Chair Bliss and members of the committee, we are going to lay over the bill. And it's my hope that Chair Bliss, you share with me that you have your word that you will work with the bill author to try to get this bill moving through committee. And so, welcome to committee, Representative Greenman, to your bill. Representative Feist.
Thank you, Chair Zhang. I just had a procedural question. So I know that this bill is in the governor's budget, and I know that if it goes to judiciary, it would have to go back. And so I guess my question is for Chair Bliss. Would you feel comfortable, I feel that this bill is really important. I've had the opportunity to work with Christy Danigo a lot, and I trust her. Oh, is she up there now? Anyway, I was just thinking, I would love to see this bill continue on its path to judiciary, but my understanding is that it would come back, that it needs to see this committee again. And so I was wondering if we could vote it to judiciary and then it would come back.
We feel that there's enough of a concern on the bill that we need to address it now. And it's my commitment that we'll have it done within a week or so. So it's not going to slow it up at all. A little bit maybe, but we want to move it on. It's a very important bill. We want to make sure we get it right. There's a lot of difference between us and the Senate right now, and it's substantial differences. So we want to make sure that we take care of our veterans and do this right. So before it moves out of this committee and onward, we just want to make sure that we're doing the right thing.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chair Bliss. And I share your commitment to veterans and to this bill, and I look forward to doing anything I can do in my role on this committee to help. Thank you.
Welcome to committee, Representative Greenman, to your bill, House File 1855.
Thank you, Chair Zhang and committee. It's nice to be back in veterans. I spent my first 4 years on the Veterans Committee and bummed that I don't get to sit with you all today, but I'm in jobs at the same time. I am honored to present this bill, House File 1855. This is a bill that addresses a predatory practice that is targeting our vets, and it is a simple, modest way through tools that we know work to address what we call Claimsharks, or folks that are getting paid or that are getting paid or making a profit off of something that our government and service organizations offer for free. The fact that this bill is a top priority for the Commander's Task Force and the department reflects the urgency of addressing the growing problem of Claimsharks. It's growing here in Minnesota and it's growing nationally. Here's the issue in a nutshell. A private industry has figured out how to make a profit off of veterans who are often vulnerable and desperate to get the benefits that they've earned from the U.S. government and from their service. And we all agree that the veterans deserve these benefits. They earned these benefits. They are owed to them. And the federal government has made it more complicated and cumbersome to get the benefits than it should be. Unfortunately, that's not a problem that we can solve at the state level. That is a federal problem. But a problem we can solve in our state is a for-profit industry that also can't solve that problem, but has made this a profit center. In Minnesota, the good news is we have made a commitment as a state and at the county level to ensure that veterans have the support they need to file claims and navigate the system through an appeals process to get the benefits they've earned. It's free, and veterans have a choice. They can get assistance free of charge from their county veteran service officer, from the MDVA, from the VFW, from the DAV, from the American Legion, and from lawyers who are accredited with the US VA. Our state has made this commitment, investment in taxpayer dollars, to ensure that folks who are providing the service to help navigate with veterans have the training, the accreditation, and the trust that veterans should have in them and that taxpayers should have, that people are getting the benefits that they've earned. And when veterans have complicated appeals and they have a choice to work with attorneys that are bound by VA accreditation and their legal ethics and can charge a reasonable fee for their services. The VSO and the accredited attorneys offer veterans both choice and services to navigate and get the support they need. But like other areas with public benefits fraud, where there's an expansion of benefits and there's money to be made, we have to stay vigilant against the business models that target our veterans and to divert our taxpayer dollars from their intended purposes and from the people who earned those benefits. And to be clear, this is not the only industry where we're seeing massive increases of fraud targeting public benefits, where government and where individuals are the mark. Just on Monday in the House Fraud Prevention Committee, House Fraud Prevention and Government Oversight Committee, which I serve on, we heard from Superintendent Evans at the BCA that there's been an increase across the board in consumer fraud, targeting consumers, targeting seniors, targeting veterans, in fraud, targeting businesses and the private sector, and in fraud where government has been targeted as well. And like other areas of fraud, the abusive practices of targeting vulnerable vets and their families who are made promises of speeding up the process, of guaranteeing benefits, and other promises that these companies have no way of delivering for a price and often for a cut of their back pay and the compensation that these veterans deserve and earned and should get fully. This steals benefits from veterans and it defrauds taxpayers who have made a commitment to take care of and support the veterans who served our country, not a for-profit industry who seek an opportunity to make a buck. Now, the increase of veterans claim sharks follows a pattern, and I had a conversation on the floor about why now. Well, it actually follows a pattern. In 2022, the federal government passed the PACT Act, which expand health care and other benefits to veterans exposed to toxic substances like burn pits and Agent Orange, and provides in some cases for retroactive back pay. That was the biggest expansion of benefits we've seen in a long time, and it is very important. Veterans and veterans groups fought very hard for a long time for those benefits. But with an expansion of benefits comes an opportunity, comes a opportunity for both fraud and for-profit opportunity that we've seen in other industries and we have seen here too. So, why are we here today? You're here today, and you'll hear from later some of the veteran service organizations, the department, some of the Commander's Task Force, who are in the field doing the work and know how these sharks operate, have seen it, have worked with the veterans who are impacted by this. But in a nutshell, they advertise and market a service. Sometimes, often, if you look at the advertising, just go Google it, guarantee a result. They call it consulting or guidance and try to skirt the federal laws that prohibits charging a veteran for preparation, presentation, and prosecution of a claim. They have the veterans themselves submit the claim, and the veterans themselves follow the claim because these companies aren't legally allowed to submit the claims and don't have access to the system that the VSOs and the department do to track and follow that claim. And then at the end, they take a cut, sometimes a substantial one, of the benefits that the federal government and the state have promised. We've been tracking this problem for the last few years and trying to find out what can be done. And if folks, it's probably in your packet, but the United States Department of Veterans Affairs, the Office of Inspector General, has a fraud alert out that says it's not appropriate for any unaccredited quote-unquote claims consultant or representative to charge veterans a percentage of future payments or fees to assist with filing of initial benefits or claims. Veterans should decline assistance from anyone proposing such arrangement. That's the USDA. We have seen a fraud alert from the Attorney General in the fall. There is law enforcement at every level are tracking this. And this bill is a modest solution. It doesn't cut off choice. It doesn't cut off the ability to go with a private provider. What it does say is that private providers to represent the veterans have to be accredited by the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, and there needs to be a written fee agreement. It prohibits making guarantees of benefits and gives veterans the legal tools under our consumer protection laws that already exist to vindicate their rights when they've been ripped off. That's it. You're going to hear a lot today, and I watched the Senate hearing, from a self-interested industry, an industry that has created a business model, and you've probably already heard them. They've probably been in your offices. They've created a business model that is resistance to the transparency, to the oversight, and to the accreditation that this simple bill has. Now, like in the payday lending area, like in lots of other areas that have a business model that is predatory, you'll see the parties, the lobbyists, the companies that are operating mostly out of the state who've made this a business model. They're targeting our veterans families. They're not accredited, they're not followed or transparent to either the federal or state government, and we know that veterans are getting hurt. This follows the same playbook, and it's a huge issue. So I just want to end, and I think we'll have a good discussion with something yesterday. In fact, I was meeting with, not related to this bill, Tom McKenna, who runs every third Saturday, which is a great organization. It's an organization that we had a bill last year supporting, a bipartisan authored bill. And he said, I just said, what do you think about this? Have you run into this? And he told me, I didn't realize, he was a DAV service officer and did these kinds of claims. But what he said to me was, just yesterday, he had someone reach out to him, a law firm from out of the state, and ask, would you put this disability calculator, this marketing tool, on your website to veterans? And he knew better, Tom McKenna. He said, why would I do this? It's offering a service for pay that I think might be illegal, and people can get it for free in lots of different places. But lots of what he also said to me is, other folks who run these kinds of organizations may not know that. And so the marketing, the outreach, with the profit margin is something that even in conversations about this bill that I wasn't expecting, I hear from average folks in my community, which is representing veterans. I have the VA hospital in my district. I have the Minnesota Veterans Home in my district. I have a lot of federal workers and state workers who serve vets, and so I hear a lot about this. And members, I think that this is a really, really important bill. I'm disappointed it's not going to go on to judiciary. I worry that we're not going to have the time, since I think you only have 2 hearings left. So I hope as we have this conversation, you guys will hear the same urgency that I do and vote this out. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, Mr. Chair, I think, do you have the list? Danigo, Dr. Chris.
Greetings, Chair and members. My name is Dr. Christy Danigo. I'm the Legislative Chair of the American Legion Department of Minnesota and the Minnesota Association of County Veteran Service Officers. For my day job, I'm an Assistant County Veteran Service Officer, where I help some of the state's most vulnerable veterans find housing, navigate their involvement with the justice system, and access life-changing veteran benefits. The Commander's Task Force, of which the Legion is a member, along with 7 other congressionally chartered veteran service organizations, has unanimously chosen this anti-fraud bill as one of their 5 key legislative priorities this year. We're asking for greater accountability from those charging veterans for representation and more protection for our veterans. Examples of shady tactics unaccredited parties have used include gaining access to veterans' VA login and password, gaining access to their direct deposit information, promising a certain rating, stating they can speed up a claim, sending veterans to a private physician for a medical opinion while asking them not to see a VA provider, and even submitting an intent to file to establish an effective date while holding back the claim itself until as close to the year deadline as possible to maximize the back pay the agent will take a cut from. Veterans can receive representation on veteran benefits matters for free from county veteran service officers in all 8 Minnesota counties. Claims representatives in the Minnesota Department of Veterans Affairs and veteran service officers of the Legion, DAV, VFW, and other veteran service organizations. Some have insinuated that people who do veteran benefits claims for free are untrained lay people and not qualified to represent veterans on claims, but this is simply false. We have many rigorous initial training requirements and then are steeped in exposure to the work, awareness of VA procedures in the M21 and the 38 Code of Federal Regulations. My initial eligibility to do this work was my own lived experience as a veteran and having a DD-214. I have 5 VA accreditations: the American Legion, Disabled American Veterans, Minnesota Department of Veterans Affairs, the National Association of County Veteran Service Officers, and the Veterans of Foreign Wars. Those of us who do this work at no cost to the veteran are not motivated by profits. It is a calling for many of us. You can find me on va.gov/OGC apps accreditation under a search of VSO representatives by my name. My work contact info is listed there and my accreditation number is 53784. In this way, veterans can verify that I am legitimate on VA benefits matters. To be good at this job, you have to have a keen interest in people and their stories. Veteran stories are sacred to me. I retell them to the federal government in the form of a lot of paperwork in pursuit of life-changing benefits for veterans who are down on their luck in every way conceivable. I explain to others in shorthand that my job is keeping veterans alive, under roofs, and out of jail. And I'm not exaggerating. It is just the simple reality of assisting homeless and justice-involved veterans on their claims. I've also gotten increasingly involved in claims dealing with military sexual trauma, mental health claims with past suicide attempts or even current suicidal ideation, and claims for veterans who are experiencing cognitive decline due to age, traumatic brain injury, or other conditions. These types of claims take a high level of sensitivity, cultural competency, a trauma-informed mindset, kindness, and compassion. And not everyone can do that. I've gone some interesting places to work with veterans on their claims: the Union Gospel Mission Men's Shelter, the Hennepin County Jail, domestic violence shelters, short-term stay hotels, veterans' homes, the streets. Chair and members, I love this work. CVSOs walk with a veteran on the journey of their claim. We also help veterans in need apply for emergency funding through MDVA or VSO programs, such as the Minnesota Veterans and Family Assistance Fund with the American Legion Department of Minnesota. I do not just file a claim and walk away. I surround the veterans with supports for as long as they need it or until I have exhausted all available possibilities. I recognize that some veterans may choose to pay an attorney or a claims representative for a certain result, but what bothers me, Chair and members, are when vulnerable veterans sign up to pay these fees. I have worked with homeless veterans who had signed a contract with a private attorney. And I ask you, is it ethical for a private attorney or a business to profit off a homeless veteran? This bill will not solve that, but it may help to serve as a deterrent. Another thing that gets in the way of my work is the distortion of facts that are created by aggressive advertising online and other platforms that have misled veterans and sown misinformation. Just this weekend, I did a Google search about veterans' benefits, and when I scrolled Facebook afterwards, I saw 8 advertisements from parties seeking to charge me for assistance with my benefits, asking me if my rating was too low. And so there's no surprise that in this work I've had to debunk misinformation Claimsharks have perpetuated about the speed of claims, with veterans believing that an attorney or a private business could get them through it faster and to a 100% rating. That is unequivocally false. No matter who represents a veteran on federal benefits matters, it is not possible to speed up the VA or guarantee a 100% rating. I could say so much more, but thank you once again for hearing this bill.
Good morning, Chair, members. My name is Ben Johnson. I am the Deputy Commissioner for Programs and Services with the Minnesota Department of Veterans Affairs. My testimony will be relatively brief, given the excellent presentation you've heard from Representative Greenman and Dr. Danigo. I simply want to state unequivocally that we support this bill in its current form, that the accreditation requirements that we have put in place, proposed in this legislation, are a significant barrier to some who would take advantage of veterans, but are not a significant barrier to those of us in the veteran service realm. There are a lot of pieces of misinformation about the number of veterans not being served in the state of Minnesota, but I can tell you that there are not significant wait lists for the filing of claims. There are not significant wait lists at the state level to get assistance in appeals, and there is not a dearth of expertise in state and local government. These veterans have earned these benefits. The state of Minnesota has a robust economy to serve veterans free of charge. I think the critical component here is that you'll hear there's only one accredited claims rep for every 900 veterans in the state of Minnesota. That's a false equivalency. There are nearly 300,000 veterans in the state of Minnesota, many of them with service-connected disabilities that have already been adjudicated that we in the state of Minnesota are supporting. They have earned these benefits, and through their taxes, they are paying our salaries. They shouldn't have to pay again to file a claim or to file an appeal. 87 counties, each one of them through state statute required to have a county veteran service officer. MDVA has claims representatives to assist these CVSOs in the development and submission of claims. We are accredited. We have gone through the process of the background check. We have gone through the process of training, and we continue to do the training required to keep that accreditation. We also have stood up in MDVA in the last 3 or 4 years a very robust training program, a CVSO training program staffed by former CVSOs working at the CVSO ranks to make sure that they understand the changes in law and the process by which you could secure an appeal that you can then proceed up the chain. The initial claim filing, it's clear. You cannot charge a fee to file a claim. And as Representative Greenman eloquently stated, this misrepresentation that they're not actually filing the claim on the behalf of the benefits, on behalf of the veteran. They're having the veteran file that claim. They're just simply assisting with the development of it. And these folks are very clear in the language that they use to avoid breaking federal law, or not avoid breaking federal law, and simply just break the law and say, no, it's not. We weren't actually submitting the claim on their behalf or developing that. We were simply assisting them. They're the ones who pushed the button to submit it. Our biggest concern, I think, is that once that happens and this group of companies receive their cut of the benefit that should rightly go to the veteran, they're done with them. And that veteran is left without any additional assistance. And the state of Minnesota has made a commitment to that veteran from discharge to death, that we have resources available to them, that we continue to walk with them through their journey, whether it be finding something like additional educational opportunities, helping them pursue higher education or housing. Those homeless veterans that Dr. Danigo referenced, those folks are not the responsibility of these for-profit companies. They are the responsibility of us in the state of Minnesota. And you have entrusted us. You have made, the legislature has made a significant investment in the state of Minnesota to help us support veterans that are seeking the benefits that they have earned. That is our primary mission. We don't receive any additional benefit. If we're able to help a veteran receive a retroactive benefit through an appeals process, $100,000, 10 years of unidentified or misidentified claims, a benefit that goes back to that veteran, we take not one penny. We take pride in taking not one penny. And the CVSOs that are in this room and the veteran service organizations that are in this room that work through this process as well, they take pride in that. They're not asking for anything back. I think if you are interested in free services, the state is full of 401c3 and 501c3 nonprofits that are willing to help veterans with no fees attached. The accreditation process here, you'll hear that it's impossible, that we're preventing choice. I would say that that's wrong, that the choice is there, and that in every county in the state of Minnesota, in every legion or VFW in the state of Minnesota, there is a resource available. And you don't have to be a member of the VFW or the Legion or the DAV. You don't have to be a member to get help on processing a claim or asking that question. We are always available to assist. I've gone longer than I intended to. I think most sincerely consider this bill as a way to continue to support veterans, keep them in their homes, keep the benefits that they have earned in their pockets and out of the pockets of those who would take advantage of them. Happy to answer any questions, and I appreciate the time.
Thank you for your testimony. Next is Ryan Scalmanini. Are you here?
Yes, Chair, thank you. My name is
Welcome to
Ryan
committee.
Scalmanini.
Identify yourself for record and proceed.
My name is Ryan Scalmanini.
Proceed.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. I am the Director of VA Disability Compliance and Analytics for Veteran Benefits Guide. And VBG is a private company that assists veterans in navigating the complex VA disability claims process. I am also a U.S. Coast Guard veteran, and I previously worked at the VA as a rating veteran service representative, where my job was to determine the disability ratings of veterans. I have reviewed thousands, made thousands more of decisions, second signed and trained hundreds of other raters, and quality reviewed thousands more rating decisions. I would also like to thank the chair and members of this committee for providing me this opportunity to share both my perspective and VBG's perspective. And I am testifying today in opposition of HS 1855. While well-intended, this bill would severely and unfairly limit choices that veterans have in seeking assistance with their disability claims. Instead of only targeting bad actors, it would make it prohibitive for veterans to get advice or assistance from any private services, including honorable companies like VBG. We believe that veterans need more help in getting the benefits they earn from their service, not more limitations on their options. And I want to be clear that VBG fully supports legislation that would establish strict guardrails to protect veterans, including disclosure requirements, fee caps, privacy protections, and other measures to block out bad actors. We would be eager to work with the committee on legislation that establishes such guardrails while allowing veterans to continue using private services. Proponents of 1855 intentionally and inaccurately insinuate that organizations such as ours choose not to be accredited, and that is false. VBG would welcome the opportunity to become accredited, and we support federal legislation that would resolve this issue by providing a pathway for accreditation, allowing VBG and other good actors to come under the oversight of the VA. But under 14.627, that is not possible currently. I also want to emphasize that VBG operates in compliance with federal law. We provide specially trained case managers to guide veterans through the claims process, but we do not act as a veteran's agent or representative as defined by federal law, and we do not present any before the VA. And so despite their best efforts, as you've heard before, VSOs, which are intended to represent veterans in this process, do not have enough resources to keep up with the demand, as county and other VSOs have testified many times in front of Congress. In fact, more than 70% of our clients have already tried navigating this process with VSOs, and they were either denied their full benefits or felt the process was taking too long. And I urge the committee to reject 1855 and protect the right of Minnesota veterans to get the help that they need. I'm also available to answer any questions, provide any clarity. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony. Next is Stephen Whitehead. Welcome to committee. Please identify yourself for the record and proceed.
Mr. Chairman, fellow representatives, thank you for giving me the opportunity to come before you. My name is Stephen Whitehead. I am currently the Department Adjutant for the Disabled American Veterans, but I'm also a past National Commander for the Disabled American Veterans, where we represented up to 1 million members in our organization. The DAV is one of several veteran service organizations that is proud of the service that we provide our veterans. We don't charge a fee for the simple reason, as Dr. Danigo said, we take pride in the work we do. When a veteran comes in to our office, they have a choice. They can choose the DAV to represent them, or they can go to the hundreds other organizations out there that they want to maybe use to go. Here in Minnesota particularly, we work really closely with our partners, such as County Veteran Service Officers, American Legion, VFW, to ensure that a veteran knows that if they are not happy with the services that the DAV is providing, they have the right to go over and receive free services. Now, to also echo what Dr. Danigo said, I was taken back by the claim that our representatives are untrained. I'll tell you, every one of our service officers, before they even can start representing a veteran, go through a 16-month training, which includes college courses to ensure that they are fully trained and educated to make sure that they represent the veterans to the best of the veteran's ability. We listen to the veteran's story to ensure that the veterans actually are getting taken care of for everything. Instead of just coming to the office saying, I need help with my PTSD, we go through the whole military record of that service member to ensure that there's other things, that if there's other things out there that may also be a benefit they can receive. Because it's not just about the benefits that we represent. We're also ensuring that they can get their health care through the VA for all of the services that they have earned. So the benefits piece is only one piece of what we provide. We also then work with the families. The piece that we're all talking about here, the veterans, is very important, but also the veteran service organizations take care of that family member. So when a veteran passes away, there's benefits that that service member's family may be eligible for as well. So when that person does pass, we reach back out to that family member to ensure that they receive all information critical to them. As I was preparing for this hearing today, I was stunned when I was doing some research that, as the representative said, Mr. McKenna, I too received an email just yesterday from an attorney out of Rhode Island asking me as a DAV, as also, to share their resources on our website. Well, I looked that organization up. They're not registered in the state of Minnesota. We have people from out of state coming in to take advantage of our veterans. And then to have veterans call us up and say, well, they filed this. And one thing that the DAV and us VSOs are very proud of is making sure that the veterans aren't actually jeopardizing and filing a false information or false document. We protect that information and make sure that the veterans are filing what they can and not what they want. That's why we go through and make sure that we reassure that the records match what there's going on. And if it doesn't, we don't stop. We explain to them what they need to do if it is truly service-connected and related to the military service, how they can proceed moving forward. We don't push them away. We don't say, hey, nope, we can't help you with that. Go away. We will still file the claim because it is our right. It's that veteran's right to file it. And just to hear that the VSOs and the service organizations are ones denying these claims. The DAV, these VSOs, are not the ones denying these claims. It is the federal VA, not the VSOs. So a veteran to come back and say that we denied their claim is false. It is misinformation that these other organizations are using to get them to come and get them to pay them for their service. And that is just wrong. If these other organizations are truly there for the rights, and that is to take care of these veterans, they should share that information and be honest and open with the veterans and saying, hey, well, it wasn't the VSOs that represented you, it was the VA. And then as to Dr. Danigo and also to Deputy Commissioner's point, we do not determine the level of disability. That is all by the VA. When we sit down with these veterans, we go through and make sure that we have all the important information for that disability. The federal VA has a disability chart that determines the level of rating. To have these organizations come out and say, oh, we can get you 100%, because, oh, by the way, I have also received that letter from attorneys. I'm a disabled veteran combat veteran from the Iraq War. When I was going through my process of filing my claims, I too was being targeted by these agencies, by these organizations, saying, hey, are you happy with your current percentage? I can get you to 100%. I can get you this. How can somebody come out and make that statement and feel comfortable with themselves? Because at the end of the day, they don't make that decision. So this bill here is critical for us because at the end of the day, getting these organizations to become accredited, They stay on top, they stay informed of all the changes that the federal VA are making. Because it is constant. It isn't once a year, twice a year. There's constant changes to what form must be used, what additional information must be filed. And that piece of being accredited, you will be informed or you'll be educated on that piece. So the veteran can receive his or her care faster. Instead of prolonging it because, oh, I didn't know I had to use that form, which I've had veterans say that they had to change because the person representing them didn't file the right form. Our service officers are trained to make sure that when there's a change to a particular form that must be used, they're using and filing the right form. So I wholeheartedly support this because I don't believe it's handicapping any choice for any veteran out there. It is ensuring if that veteran so chooses to go to an attorney, that they're also getting an attorney that will be accredited and actually be able to represent that person fairly and equally across the board. That completes my testimony. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Thank you for your testimony. Please stay behind for member questions later. That's to all the testifiers. Next is Barry Henriksen and John Gone from VFW. Welcome to the committee. Please state your name for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Thank you, Chair, Committee. My name is Barry Henriksen, the State of Minnesota Veterans of Foreign Wars Adjutant Quartermaster. Not only is this a top priority for the Veterans of Foreign Wars and the Commander's Task Force, it is also a top priority nationally. And as of now, 9 other states have already passed legislation, anti-claimshark laws that prohibit charging veterans for initial claims assistance. Washington, Iowa, Michigan, New York, Illinois, Nevada, New Jersey, Maine, and Massachusetts. The VFW is concerned that bad actors are preying on veterans by skimming their earned Department of Veterans Affairs benefits. Claimsharks often charge veterans the equivalent of 5 to 10 months of their future disability payments. This is money these veterans may not have, which could put them in debt simply for trying to access their benefits. We have over 28,000 veterans of the VFW members here in Minnesota, but as has been testified, the VFW Claims Office helps all veterans. And I have with me today our expert, our claims director, John Gone.
Welcome to committee. Mr. Gone, please identify yourself for the record and proceed with your testimony.
My name is John Gone, Jon-Gohn. I am the director for the Veterans of Foreign Wars Claims Office here in Minnesota and the Departmental Service Officer. Contextually, I have over 20 years of experience in this. And I haven't seen anything like this in the 20 years that I've been here. This is a VFW statement not only from our department, but also from the Commander-in-Chief of the VFW. Predatory claim shark companies are engaging in illegal activities, and there is no gray area here, no matter how much money they want to throw at it. For more than a century, the VFW has been in the forefront of advocating for veterans and their earned benefits. In the last fiscal year alone, more than 593,000 veterans received more than $14.6 billion in benefits from the VA through the diligence and professionalism of the VFW's global network of VA-accredited service officers. Not a penny of this $14.6 billion went to line the pockets of the VFW. It all went to veterans, as the law requires. Here in Minnesota, we were able to obtain $660 million in benefits for Minnesota veterans and their dependents. My 5-person office currently represents 34,000 veterans and dependents in the state of Minnesota. They all get the same attention and diligence as anyone. The VFW has been a vocal opponent of predatory claim sharks, companies who charge veterans illegal fees for subpar VA benefit claims assistance. Make no mistake, the proliferation of the illicit organizations is a threat not only to the VFW's cornerstone of our National Veteran Service Program, but an even greater threat to the VA benefit system as we know it. Since their emergence, the VFW has ratcheted up the pressure on these companies by passing legislation to crack down on their practices at the state levels. We're working to help veterans bring litigation against them. We've trained over 2,300 VFW accredited service officers on how to handle this. Now these claim sharks are trying to normalize and legitimize their financial exploitation of our nation's disabled veterans. They even name VSOs like the VFW as their threats. And while we should be flattered that they recognize the threat we pose, now is the time to decisively defeat this scourge. The bottom line is this: predatory claim shark companies are engaging in illegal activities. There is no gray area here, no matter how much money they want to throw at it. Their latest collusion is a desperate attempt to avoid accountability. This VFW has aggressively pursued this issue in all corners of government, solidifying the veteran community's stance on this issue. We encourage you all to read up on the facts, familiarize yourself with these issues, and to help as we have produced a VA claim shark fact sheet to you all. The VFW has testified before Congress stating, any group that fails to adhere to a VA's well-established standards of accreditation and fee agreements should be greeted at the door by the Capitol Police, not offered a seat at the same table. We have no opposition to accreditation. We would love for them to have accreditation in their ranks so that they are able to be held to the same legal obligations as private attorneys who are accredited and veteran service officers alike. Anyone supporting a pay-to-play company is not only disrespecting our Minnesota veterans who gave diligently to this country and put their lives on the line and earned the benefits that they deserve. By taking advantage of these individuals, it is immoral. And we believe that any company profiting off the backs of them is simply unacceptable. We equate what they do as throwing a bunch of spaghetti noodles that are wet against the wall and hoping that a few of them stick. Knowing many of these claim conditions are frivolous and some are fraudulent, absolutely fraudulent. They're not held accountable if that's found. If there is a claim that's found to be fraudulent by the federal government, that would solely lie on the shoulders of the veteran, as there is no accreditation, and they have stated that they do not represent, and they only assist. If fraud is found, that veteran held liable could not only lose every benefit that they have earned, but they could spend time in jail with many, many excessive fines and fees. Our Veterans Benefits Guide individual stated that they would like guardrails, and they're fine with that. This would be resolved if they simply had accreditation to legally represent in all facets of VA law. We highly encourage you to pass this bill and protect the veterans of the state of Minnesota who have given so diligently to protect the country that they love. Thank you very much. I will be around for questions afterwards.
Thank you for your testimony. Next is Brian Lewis. Welcome to the committee. Please identify yourself for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Brian Lewis. I'm a VA-accredited attorney in private practice in the Twin Cities area. I come today to oppose this bill as currently drafted. I hold exactly one accreditation with the VA. My accreditation number is 41828, and that is all I need in addition to my law license to practice in front of the federal VA and assist veterans with their benefits. Whether you have one accreditation number or 4 or 5, all you need is one. Additional numbers make no difference. While some unlicensed and untrained laypersons, or what we call VSOs, may make a statement that they have all these extra numbers. They really make no difference. Similarly, on the Senate side, there was testimony that their training consisted of 2 trip classes that would take, or a trip class that would take about 2 days to complete. Today you heard that there was a 16-month course with some college classes. Let's think about what we really want veterans getting help with when we trust their claims to some college classes. Every attorney in this room has completed an undergraduate degree and a graduate degree in law. We're trained to apply the law to the facts. Yet, these unlicensed and untrained laypersons say they can do it with some nebulous courses and some college courses. That should set off alarm bells in the mind of every person on this committee. Next, as I stated in my written testimony, there are significant problems with this bill. Everybody here says they want to get rid of Claimsharks, and that's a laudable goal. As I said, as my firm said in our testimony, we support everybody that helps veterans apply for VA benefits should be accredited. The problem of companies not being able to receive accreditation is a congressional one. It's not going to be solved in this room. But this bill, as it is currently drafted, sweeps up licensed and accredited attorneys in its nets. And yet, what we've heard today is essentially that's what it was designed to do. Everybody, matter of fact, I believe it was the last person who testified said something along the lines of any company profiting off the back of veterans is immoral. As private attorneys in practice, we have to charge a fee for our work. It's real simple. Our landlords do not care that we are helping veterans or not helping veterans. They want to see money every month for their office space. And I think a lot of people on this committee understand that fact. The landlord wants to get paid for our office space each and every month. How we do that is up to us. So that means when a veteran comes in the door, we have to charge a fee. Of course, if the committee doesn't want us charging a fee, you know, perhaps there's a way to subsidize that, giving us some of the same block grants that these unlicensed and untrained layperson organizations get every month, or every year, I should say. That's an option too. But what this bill does right here is tell me, an accredited attorney, that that I'm required to sign a fee agreement with my veteran clients, even though it's not required under federal law, federal regulation, or even under the Minnesota State Bar's ethics rules. There are limited circumstances in this state under the State Bar's professional conduct rules where I have to have a retainer agreement. This bill seeks to add one more. Why? Let's just be honest, let's call out the elephant in the room. The bill as drafted is protectionist. It seeks to knock out people who have to charge a fee to help veterans get benefits. It wants to knock lawyers out of the game. And to be clear, I haven't taken a Minnesota client since 2017, a Minnesota veteran client since 2017 to help them fight for their benefits because of previous legislation this committee passed. Back then it was called House File 1209. It's now codified at MnStat 197.6091. It's the law that this bill seeks to amend. I cannot ethically make the statement that unlicensed and untrained laypersons can provide the same service I can to help veterans get their benefits. Simply put, it's not true. And if I make that statement, if I hand a potential client that disclosure form, I can lose my law license because I have an ethical duty to my client or my potential client to be truthful with them. End of story. And if I'm not, the bar is going to come calling me and invite me down to have a conversation and say, oh, by the way, put your law license here on the table as you come in to talk. So the problem in this bill could be easily solved. And it could easily be solved in this way. This law shall not apply to any person or organization accredited by the U.S. Department of Federal Affairs under Title 38, United States Code, or Title 38, Code of Federal Regulations. That's an easy fix to this problem to get rid of the problems and protect accredited attorneys and claims agents from what this bill seeks to do, which is hopefully chase out what are called claim sharks. The other big problem in this bill, is in subdivision 3A, parent B, down at the bottom of page 2 of the bill. A person who refers in exchange for compensation a veteran or family member of a veteran to a provider of veterans benefit services must be accredited by the Secretary of the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs under Title 38. Here's the problem with that. My partner, who was scheduled to testify today, but he wasn't able to make it, practices a lot of family law. And there's a lot of family law attorneys in this state who aren't accredited. Matter of fact, one of them just retired from the Minnesota National Guard as a 2-star general. So if she refers a client to me, even though I wouldn't take them because they're a Minnesota resident, if she says to me, I would like you to help this client, or this client of mine get VA benefits, she herself has to be accredited. That's what this bill says. So why would she make a referral to me if she's accredited? And if she's not accredited, then there's civil penalties to me and to her. Can anybody really think about the wisdom of that one? So, there's been a lot of talk about guarantee of benefits. We're over on page 3 of the bill. Must not guarantee either directly or by implication that a person's able to receive specific federal, states, or county veterans benefits of any specific level, percentage, or amount. There is a active attorney on this panel, and she knows that part of what clients pay attorneys for is to listen to their situation, bounce their facts off of the law, and make a guess as to what should happen, why it should happen, and what their end result should be. This bill seeks to hobble my ability to practice. It hobbles my ability to tell a potential client, okay, you were rated at this, I've looked over your documents, I think you should be at this. Because that's what 38 CFR Part 4 seems to say.
Mr. Lewis, if you try to be brief, we have
Yes.
several other testifiers too. Thank you.
Yes, sir. So those are just 2 specific problems, and there's much others. But in conclusion, what the bill shows is that licensed and accredited attorneys weren't at the table when this bill was drafted, and it shows. I would urge this committee to vote down this anti-veteran piece of legislation for the moment, give accredited attorneys a seat at the table, and come back with a stronger piece of legislation that seeks to do what everybody said it's supposed to do, and that is to get a control over the claim sharks that are at this table. Also, why I think of it, they've said there's been a lot of testimony about what's happening and why, yet the department hasn't offered any specific numbers, no specific count of how these things are happening. Perhaps somebody should ask them where the numbers are about how this problem is and why this problem is. As a great president once said, the 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair,
Thank you. Mr. Lewis.
testifier could stay behind.
Mr. Lewis. Little advice in future committees. We are supportive of our veterans in this committee. We're a nonpartisan committee. When you degrade our county veteran services officers like you have multiple times in this committee, it hurts your case. Trust me. Our county veteran services officers are dedicated public servants, are dedicated to the veterans, and I do not appreciate you referring to them in a degrading manner. Thank you.
There you go.
Next is John Baker. Welcome to the committee. Please identify yourself for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chair and members. My name is John Baker. I am the Executive Director of the Minnesota Association of County Veteran Service Officers. I'm also retired from the United States Marine Corps. I am also an attorney, and I have been involved in this process from the start. And I'm a retired professor of criminal justice from St. Cloud State University. I represent about 165 accredited county veteran service officers throughout the state of Minnesota. So there is at least one CVSO in all 87 counties in the state. Many counties have more than one CVSO. Our CVSOs are all accredited through the federal VA Office of General Counsel. Their accreditation process is very rigorous and requires annual education benefits. Dr. Danigo already went through that process. Matter of fact, last week, we were just up in Bemidji, the northern half of our CVSOs went through a 3-day training process hosted by the Minnesota Department of Veterans Affairs, our partners. Our CVSOs get annual training, they get more credits than they actually need for their accreditation. So we work with the MDVA and the National Association of County Veteran Service Officers in that accreditation process. Our CVSOs are held to a very high standard, including accountability through their accreditation. I want to note for this, the members, that there is no accountability for these unaccredited Claimsharks that are preying on our veterans in Minnesota. The services a CVSO provides is completely free to the veteran and their families. There are no wait times to see a CVSO, and a veteran can see any CVSO in the state. They don't have to go to their CVSO in their county. There is not a single CVSO in this state that will turn away a veteran. They also represent family members, and that's really key. Our CVSOs not only work with veterans, but with their family members. Our CVSOs help with the initial VA claims, but they also connect veterans, and connect is a key word here. They connect veterans with a wide variety of services available at the state and federal levels. So they can also, if a veteran is having some homeless issues in the interim before they get their VA benefits, our CVSOs can connect with the SSAP program at the state of Minnesota, so they can access these state benefits as well. Dr. Danigo talked about some of this. Our CVSOs also have relationships with our partners at the Legion, VFW, DAV, and all the other nonprofits in the state, including MACV. They also work with homeless and justice-involved veterans. That's really key. This committee last week just approved a program for funding for technical assistance coordinator. Thank you, Representative Feist, for that. That was really you and I's discussion that I came up with that idea. Providing money for technical experts within our CVSOs that can go around and help CVSOs, women veterans for particular. Maybe a CVSO in Greater Minnesota doesn't deal with women veterans every day, but we got a technical assistance coordinator that can provide that expertise. We have one for justice-involved veterans and for suicide prevention as well. So just like a doctor at the VA, and this is I say this a lot when there's discussion about privatizing the VA. Those doctors at the VA know how to connect the dots, whereas a civilian doctor may not be able to connect the dots. Say there is a Vietnam-era veteran that comes to the VA hospital and they have some type of issue that VA doctor knows that is connected a lot of times to their experiences in Vietnam, whether it's Agent Orange or any other number of things. So that's a lot of what our CVSOs can do as well. Our CVSOs will walk, as Dr. Danigo said, our CVSOs will walk with the veteran their entire life and will be there for their family members at the end. I just had a CVSO contact me the other day that in southern Minnesota, she had a elderly veteran just pass away. He was 89 years old, and his spouse got contacted by sharks saying, we can help get your husband burial benefits and all the benefits that he deserves if you pay us X amount of dollars. All that is for free. You know, a veteran, a qualified veteran can get all these services for free. And that's the kind of shark, not just VA benefits, it's for burial benefits, it's for GI Bill, it's all kinds of benefits that a veteran can get. There are over 300 accredited VSOs in the state of Minnesota available to veterans and their family members that can provide services for free. There are almost 50 accredited attorneys in the state of Minnesota available for veterans. And I want to say this, I am an attorney as well. And I want to say this, there are several attorneys that are testifying today. They do not represent the bar. The Minnesota State Bar Association has a very rigorous process by which they go through to either speak on legislation or propose their legislation. These attorneys that are here today, they are speaking for themselves. They don't speak for the Bar Association or for the other accredited attorneys. I know plenty of accredited attorneys in the state of Minnesota that take these cases. I completely disagree with just about everything that the previous speaker said as an attorney. Veterans and their family members have many different choices in the state. We just want to ensure that they have informed choices. My CVSOs get hit almost every day with a nonprofit that wants them, just like previous speakers, as the DAV adjutant said, they want the DAV to have their nonprofit on their website. So my CVSOs get hit every day. So we have, in MACVSO, we have set up a rigorous process by which we evaluate these nonprofits that we will work with. And there's a ton of them that we are happy to work with. But one of the first things that we look at, I as an attorney, I'm going to look at whether that nonprofit is properly registered to do business in the state of Minnesota. In my research on the organizations that have submitted documentation and will be speaking today, none of those for-profit organizations are actually registered to do business in the state of Minnesota. As the members know, to do business in the state of Minnesota as a foreign corporation, say if you're a corporation incorporated out of Delaware, if you're going to do business in the state of Minnesota, you have to be registered as a foreign corporation. None of these organizations that are speaking today are registered as a foreign corporation in Minnesota. They are violating state statute just by doing business in the state of Minnesota. I want to be very clear on that. So I'm here today to urge you to support this important legislation, which will require accreditation to work with a veteran and their family members. I actually prefer to call this bill the Veteran Anti-Fraud Claim Bill, because that's really what this is. We're looking, I know this body has been working hard and looking to reduce fraud on our citizens in the state of Minnesota. That's what this bill does, because we're really asking the legislature to ensure veterans and their family members are free from fraud. Minnesota has always been a leader in caring for our veterans and their family members. We have some of the best CVSOs in the nation. Matter of fact, the president of the National Association is one of our county CVSOs out of Waseca County. So passing HF 1855, and I encourage you to vote on this today and pass it to judiciary. It will ensure that we continue to uphold these values. This bill is not just about policy, it's about people. It's about our veterans in Minnesota. It's about ensuring that we continue to take care of our veterans. So I urge you to support HF 1855 and stand with individuals and communities that will benefit from this passage. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you for your testimony. Next is Francis White. Are you testifying for him? Oh, okay. Mr. White is not here, so Benjamin Krause. Welcome to the committee. Please identify yourself for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to testify on this important matter. My name is Benjamin Krause. I am chair of United Veterans Leadership Council, which is a Minnesota-based nonprofit that was founded in 1968. working on in a bipartisan manner to support the needs of veterans in Minnesota. There's been a lot of conversation about a lot of things, and so I'm going to have to go off script to at least provide some degree of value here. I don't want to retread what other folks are talking about. So I'm going to bring up 3 points that haven't been addressed. First, there are laws that already exist that address what this is attempting to do. They've existed since at least starting in 1931. What is being complained of with Claimsharks, which of course, I want to be clear, UVLC does not support. I, as a VA-accredited attorney, do not support that. We don't support veterans who are being defrauded of benefits. It's important, it's also required. I'm VA-accredited. If I were to support that type of thing, I would likely have problems with my own VA accreditation. On the side of that, we just don't agree with it. We think it's a bad practice. So in that context, I would turn your attention to MnStat 481.02. That is the unauthorized practice of law in Minnesota. It is well covered underneath the judiciary branch, and it's against the law. It's a misdemeanor. And if you combine that with the disclosure law that already exists from 2017, advertising that is inconsistent with the law is already punishable of up to $1,000 a day per fine or per occurrence per day. Additionally, with unauthorized practice of law, that covers basically consulting services that are providing legal services and filling out legal documents. If you've looked at any kind of document for a veteran where they're filling out a claim, it is, if you provide an inaccurate statement, it is punishable under a penalty of perjury and a number of other examples of crimes that could be broken at the federal level. So these are legal documents. So if you wanted to ratchet down on what is called Claimsharks, unauthorized practice of law should be maybe the first place to look. Additionally, the disclosure law addresses a large amount of the legal issues with respect to unscrupulous advertising that could be also deemed fraudulent. So a little bit of background. Again, my name is Ben. I'm a Minnesota-based attorney. I went to the University of Minnesota Law School, graduated magna cum laude there. I am a disabled veteran. I served in the United States Air Force and have been helping veterans as a VA-accredited attorney across the country for over a decade. It's what I do for a living. It's how I feed my children. It's really important to me in what we do. I also help run UVLC, which keeps agencies and members of the public informed about the current status of bills and other issues within the state of Minnesota. So I was asked before I came in here to provide a little bit of an example of the difference between what it is to be a VA-accredited attorney and why we are different than Claimsharks. I also want to point out why we are different than CVSOs. UVLC, and me personally, I love CVSOs. I love MDVA. I, as a veteran, had to fight with the Department of Veterans Affairs for over 10 years for my own benefits, and it required me becoming an attorney to finally win. Through that process, I was represented by multiple VSOs and CVSOs. I'm very familiar with the work that they do. As an attorney, I'm also familiar with the difference. I am licensed to practice law in the state of Minnesota. I'm also federally accredited, and I'm admitted to federal courts to represent veterans on appeal. So what I do is unique and different. As a VA-accredited attorney, I do not get paid on initial claims. The Department of Veterans Affairs federally, as well as U.S. Congress, has created an entire legal framework that governs exactly what we do. It's very clear that it is very well regulated. Just want to point that out. But from my perspective, I think that, you know, what is Claimsharks needs to be developed. It needs to be analyzed. The law as written doesn't address what's going on here in Minnesota. I've already talked to the Senate side about it. The law as it's written actually pulls in VA-accredited attorneys, which is inappropriate. It may result in litigation sooner than later. That needs to be addressed. It's inappropriate for the state of Minnesota to require VA-accredited attorneys to force veterans to sign a disclaimer for the legal services that we are lawfully able to provide as officers of the court and through VA accreditation to veterans, where we have to force the veteran to acknowledge the services that they're about to pay us to do, they can get from a CVSO. Now, this is not a bash on CVSOs. What I do as an attorney took 4 years of an undergraduate degree, 3 years in a Juris Doctor, and getting my law license and then getting VA accredited. A lot of different steps went into doing what I do, and the skills that we provide are different and unique. I also want to point out that many of the chartered VSOs, including disabled American veterans, have direct relationships with various law firms, including law firms in Rhode Island, where DAV does refer its higher level appeals for representation. The law firm's name is Chisholm Kilpatrick, CCK. That's a private law firm, not a veteran-owned law firm in the state of Rhode Island. When there's a good outcome on a claim, even a claim from Minnesota, that tax revenue goes over there to Rhode Island. I no longer practice here as far as representing Minnesota veterans because of the way the law is written. The law is written to pull me in, and if I violate it, in other words, if I don't force my clients to sign a disclaimer I disagree with, then I might be punished up to $1,000 a day per occurrence. The disclosure document is horribly written. It shouldn't be used. It needs to be addressed. I think this committee would be benefited to rewrite the legislation as it sits, to do a full rewrite of what used to be HF 1209 and then this particular bill, and make sure that it doesn't step on the toes of the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs and the U.S. Congress, which has already decided over a decade ago that VA-accredited attorneys should be able to represent veterans for a fee, especially on complicated matters that include potential court appeals up through the U.S. Supreme Court. Now, I want to bring up one thing that was mentioned here about the Minnesota State Bar Association and the Military and Veterans Affairs. They were not consulted about this bill. I talked to them and I asked about their position. They were surprised to learn about this bill. So when we're talking about, the official body of attorneys in the state of Minnesota, the head of the MSBA at least told me last week after I talked with the Senate side that they weren't contacted about it and given the opportunity to respond in a working group. That's very important, especially if you're touching on what attorneys do under the judiciary branch. As this sits, it pulls VA-accredited attorneys underneath the Minnesota Department of Veterans Affairs. That's inappropriate. And it's a sub-agency. We don't respond or fall under the authority of the commissioner of the Minnesota Department of Veterans Affairs. We just don't. We fall underneath the Minnesota Supreme Court. So as it's written, it needs to be rewritten, the entire statute. We need to protect veterans. It's important. UVLC believes it's important. I believe it's important. We should protect veterans. I called around yesterday and did a survey of the almost the 10 largest CVSO offices in the state that are responsible for 173,000 veterans, according to MDVA numbers. And I want to give you some feedback about what my observation was. The 5 counties that I called where I couldn't reach a live human that used auto dialers included Hennepin County, Ramsey County, Washington County, Carver County, and Stearns County. At least from my brief interaction with the phone, it appeared that I could not reach a live human. Now, there were 5 other counties that did have live staff that picked up the phone: Dakota, Anoka, Wright, Scott, St. Louis. When I asked them and told them what I am, what I'm doing, they chuckled a little bit that their offices were the ones that happened to pick up the phone. I'm happy that at least 5 of the counties that I called picked up. Now, I asked them about what it takes for a veteran to get in to talk to a accredited CVSO, and they said that you have to usually set up an appointment. They generally discourage walk-ins. The wait time to meet with a actual CVSO is 2 days to 4 weeks, according to the people that I talked to yesterday. And I'm happy to provide insight into that. Now, one of the things that came up that I was disappointed in was when I asked them about Claimsharks, and I wanted to know about their experience. And it wasn't what I thought I was going to hear. I thought I was going to hear about the VFW flyer and the companies that were identified on it, some of which you are hearing from today: Veteran Guardians, Veteran Benefits Guide, companies like that. But that's not what they said. They were telling me about an awful experience with sharks taking money that they shouldn't take, et cetera, et cetera. And then they described a scenario that included, apparently, a VA-accredited attorney that received a fee for the work that they did. And in their office, that was a claim shark. When I asked them about Veteran Guardians or any experience similar to that, she seemed confused about what an unaccredited consulting company was. Now, that doesn't mean that's the consensus. It was just one conversation I happened to have with somebody at one time. But I thought it was interesting that her example in her office of a claim shark was me, and I'm a veteran. So, pretty upset about it. So, thank you. I don't have anything else.
Thank you for your testimony. Next is Marissa LaCourt. Welcome to the committee. Please identify yourself for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Thank you. My name is Marissa LaCourt, and I am a County Veteran Service Officer for Goodhue County, which is located in Red Wing, Minnesota. I am a fully accredited service officer holding 5 accreditations, one with the National Association of County Veteran Service Officers, one with the Minnesota Department of Veterans Affairs, one with the American Legion, one with the Disabled American Veterans, and last but not least, Veterans of Foreign Wars. My OGC number is 51628. I served 6 years in the world's finest Navy, and I am a disabled veteran. Claimsharks have been preying on our Minnesota veterans during the most vulnerable times in their lives. These unethical firms target veterans who are at their most desperate and make false promises to that veteran by saying they can expedite a claim where I am unable to. This is false. With my accreditations, I actually hold more power. I have the ability to message, monitor, track a claim through the whole process. I am also free of charge. Veteran benefits are earned benefits at the price of our bodies. These benefits are not a quick buck for a predatory law firm to make a profit off of our sacrifice. These predatory practices need to be addressed, and these firms should be ashamed of this type of behavior. I worked with an 87-year-old man. His wife was recently put into a memory care facility. That memory care facility was $15,000 a month. I did what's called a non-service connected pension. This is specifically to help wartime veterans that are in need of financial assistance. I did every single piece of processing paper. I expedited the claim. He was approached while sitting with his wife in this care facility by a firm, and they promised him if he paid $2,000, the claim would be processed by the end of the month. The claim was processed 14 days later. It was approved. That agency took his check for $2,000, cashed it. They didn't even process the power of attorney, but they had no intention of refunding that man his money, even though they did nothing for him. Claimsharks are famous for filing frivolous claims that bog down the system, which makes every single veteran wait longer for their earned benefits. I have a veteran that I just worked with. He's a combat wounded Marine, 2 tours to Iraq. He just wanted some help with mental health. He got in with a claim shark. He didn't know who else to call. For $6,000, he got ChatGPT generated physician assistance letters. This physician assistant had never met the veteran. She was from another state. She didn't even have access to his medical records. For $6,000. They filed a claim for 38 conditions, most of which we call this pyramiding. By that, that means, easiest way for me to describe this to this committee would be like if you have anxiety, instead of claiming anxiety, they claim things like insomnia, irritability. Each one is an individual line item. It takes the rating professionals a while. They have to filter through that to actually process a claim. This is time and money that these people are having to take that shouldn't ever be taken. This practice is, as my colleague John Gone specified, they throw a whole bunch of spaghetti noodles at the wall and just pray something sticks. That veteran had to go to 26 exams. He missed 26 days of work, many of which were pointless exams. At the end of this veteran was awarded 40%. A combat wounded, 2 tours in Iraq veteran given 40%. When I worked with him, because I am an accredited veteran service officer, I filed a claim for 3 things. That veteran is now 100% permanent in total. He has every benefit he earned. I have multiple veterans that have been calling me in my county, in little itty bitty Red Wing, Minnesota. They're being approached in the waiting room of ERs, asking them if they are veterans. And if they say yes, they're then grilled about, well, what's your rating? What's your disability rating? You know, I can help you get more. How is that not considered predatory? This proves that these law firms are not out for the veteran. They want a quick buck off of the suffering of our veterans. They are approaching them at the lowest of their lives. It is our duty as the representatives of the state of Minnesota to protect our veterans. I'm going to leave you all with the actual motto from the Department of Veterans Affairs: to care for him who shall have borne the battle, and for his widow and his orphan. It was said by Abraham Lincoln. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your testimony, Ms. LaCourt. Next is John Blomstrom. Welcome to the committee. Please identify yourself for the record and proceed with your testimony.
John Blomstrom from Veterans Guardian. Thank you, Co-Chair Zhang and Co-Chair Bliss. Members of the committee, I appreciate the time today. Before I begin, I do want to say and acknowledge the great work that county veteran service officers and other VSOs do, and to thank everybody in this room for their service to this great country. With that, I will say this. I'm the manager of government and public affairs for Veterans Guardian. I'm a Marine Corps veteran. I am not a professional lobbyist per se. I'm a government relations professional working on behalf of our company that serves veterans. Veterans Guardian's mission is to provide the best possible service to our veterans to ensure they receive all the benefits they're owed, the injuries they incurred during their honorable time in service to our great nation. I want to be very clear and upfront in saying that we are not adversarial to the VSOs or the trial attorneys. We are complementary. We offer an additional alternative in getting their claims put together. We do not act as agents or attorneys. We are not in violation of federal law, and we are fully transparent with our services. We are upfront with the veterans and letting them know that there are VSOs and free options available. In fact, we'll actually go help them find those free options. We'll help them get that service they need, and we'll actually thank them, hope that they don't need us, and let them go. We will never work with a veteran during their presumptive period, meaning from active service separation the first 365 days. We tell a veteran they don't need our service. We'll actually vector them to a VSO and let them know, again, you don't need us. The other thing we won't do is work with anybody that we feel could be filing a fraudulent claim. We just simply will not do that. Our fee is upfront, transparent, and during the disclosure period, we let a veteran know not only that there are free services available, we let them know our fee structure. We also let them know that we are a contingency-based fee model, meaning that if the veteran is not successful in getting their benefit increased, they do not owe us a thing, not a penny, not a dime. We don't touch their back pay. We don't have access to their C-file, their financials, e-benefits, everything that they have and everything that they pay us is completely voluntary. If a veteran decides not to compensate us for the work that we've done, we simply archive their file, wish them well, and send them on their way. We don't contact them with a creditor or debt collector. We don't charge interest, and our fee, again, is nominal. So again, it's contingency based upon a successful outcome. We don't have access to, again, their VBMS. And again, upfront, we fully support the protections that this bill offers, but accreditation right now is not possible for organizations like ours. At the congressional level, federal level, we are working with a bipartisan group of members of Congress in both the House Veterans Affairs and Senate Veterans Affairs committees to pass consumer protection legislation that would open a pathway to accreditation for organizations like ours. So we're not sitting here saying we don't want to become accredited. We're fully open to becoming accredited. Right now, there is no mode for us to become accredited. And again, we are fully aware, fully open, and happy to become accredited, to have these discussions. My ask for the committee today would be to table this so that we can sit down and put together a common sense piece of legislation that lets a veteran continue to choose how they get their VA disability benefits done, but does so in a manner that also puts guardrails in place. We firmly believe that veterans should be protected in this space, firmly believe that the bad actors that exist in this space should be regulated out. And as one of the actors that is moral and ethical, our company, again, is staffed by 300 very caring and highly trained individuals who work through this process with the veteran, which again is incongruous and is consistently inconsistent. We're with the veteran every step of the way. And for us, it doesn't stop at the claim being submitted. For us, we get them through the whole system and make sure that they're okay during that process. So again, my ask today would be, let's table this, let's put together some really good common sense consumer protection legislation, keep a veteran's options in the state of Minnesota open, and again, make sure that we're protecting these veterans who've done so much for this country and who've served. Thank you for your time today, and I welcome any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Blomstrom. Next is LaCourt. Members, we have about 20 minutes left, and so after Mr. LaCourt, I will open it to the public who wants to testify, and then we'll turn to Q&A. I do have a bill in a labor committee that I have to go present. I have 20 minutes left to go present. And so if I'm not here, I'm going to ask Vice Chair Henderson to take over the gavel. Welcome to committee, sir. Please identify yourself for the record and proceed.
Good morning. I'm Ross LaCourt. I'm a retired United States Marine Gunnery Sergeant. I retired in the summer of 2023 and have become an active member in the American Legion as serving as a district vice for the 3rd District, the DAV serving as the chapter adjutant for Chapter 40 out of the South Metro, as well as a member of the VFW, and I participate in a group known as the Eagle Group of Minnesota Veterans. Through these organizations, I've had the opportunity to travel throughout the state of Minnesota and to the U.S. Capitol, where I've met with fellow veterans, lawmakers, and everyone in between. One of the topics that continually come up is about Claimsharks, regarding how they are treating veterans and how they are charging. I heard Secretary Collins, the new Secretary of the Veteran Affairs Committee, or not committee, but department, excuse me, as well as members of the House of Representatives Committee on Veteran Affairs, as well as in a joint session with the senators. They have all spoken out against Claimsharks, saying their practices are unfair, unfairly targeting veterans in need. Some of the states, including Minnesota, have taken some steps in the right direction, with being one of the few states that have county veteran service officers. I believe there are a total of 11. One of these individuals probably could correct me on that if I'm mistaken on that number, but they do more than just disability claims. But one of the responsibilities as lawmakers you all have is to protect our consumers, and in this case, it is protecting the veterans, specifically for excessive or unreasonable fees. On one occasion, I am currently rated at 90%. The difference between 90% and 100% is about $1,400 a month. I was approached by a Claimshark saying, "Oh, I can get you up to 100%. The thing is I would have to pay out of pocket. He would not take out of my back pay because that increase would not even be enough money for him to do the work. I would point out that a, quote, fast claim takes about 6 months. And some of these individuals are probably going to chuckle because that's really fast for the VA. But that equates out to over $12,000 in back pay. 10% of that is $1,200 for about 4 hours of work. That means that for $300 an hour, how is that not considered an unreasonable fee? $300 an hour. That's on a fast claim for 6 months. Let's fast forward and double that because it'll probably take about 12 months. So now you're at $24,000. Now you're at $600 an hour. That is unreasonable. The second part of consumer protection is false or misleading advertising. By saying guaranteeing 100%, that is false at the bare minimum, but I would settle for the phrase of misleading. You cannot guarantee a service member a certain rating because you don't know what their service entailed. Maybe they had 2-3 deployments to Iraq. Maybe they didn't have the opportunity to deploy, especially in this day and age where the deployment cycle has gone down so significantly. The other piece is, in many of these cases, these claim sharks will still continue to charge the veteran regardless of the outcome of the claim, whether they were increased or not. Now, I know we've heard from some of the attorneys that do not do that, and I appreciate that practice of not doing that. However, there are more that are trying to take advantage of the veterans than are not. The purpose of veteran disability compensation is to help veterans with their lives through the sacrifices that they made through their bodies and their mental health. I implore this body to look closely and act in the best interest of my fellow veterans and immediately pass legislation requiring any claim filed for veterans to come from an accredited individual from the Veteran Affairs Department, and to eliminate predatory practices by claim sharks and banning for-profit claim sharks that prey on my fellow veterans. No veteran should have to pay for their benefits. No one should profit from getting their benefits. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Is there anybody from the public who wishes to testify? Okay, thank you. We'll close the testimony portion and we'll go on to member discussion. Members, I have Representative Bennett first on the list.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you for this bill, Representative Greenman. I think the idea is excellent. This was a really informative committee hearing, and I loved hearing both sides. And I want to just make a few comments just based on what I've heard, because this is also a complicated issue, as many things when we start on bills and they seem like no-brainers, as we might call them, and oftentimes there's so much more to them. So we have American Legions who offer these services and have wonderful services, and I thank them for that, and our Veterans Service Officers who are amazing for our veterans, and thank you for that. And we should never demonize them, as Chair Bliss said. They're working hard for our veterans. But then we also have veterans who have private businesses, and many of them are veterans, as we've heard, who are offering services for a reasonable fee. We shouldn't demonize them either and lump them all, and I know you're not doing that, Representative Greenman, but in hearing the various testimonies, we have to be careful not to lump everybody in one big, huge mass, because I can see that there are two kinds of these private services. Some are the claim shark type who are preying on our veterans. They should not be allowed to do business in Minnesota. And others are legitimate businesses who are charging a fee, and veterans should have that choice if they would prefer to go outside of the government choices to pay a reasonable fee if they want to. It should be transparent. So what I'm, I guess, asking Representative Greenman, because I do support this bill, but I also believe it needs more work, is that at this point it seems to be taking a broad brush approach, and we have to get our little laser out and make sure that we're looping in and allowing the legitimate businesses, many whom are veterans, we heard from a number of them, who should be able to help veterans too. So I would ask you to work on some language a little bit more to give our veterans choice, but also protect them from the sharks. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any response?
In the interest of time, I will respond, but I'll keep that in my closing because I know that I want to make sure that there's enough time for.
Cool. Thank you. All right, Representative Feist.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I had just a couple preliminary comments about the lawyer stuff, and then had some questions about fees. I know it was said that lawyers weren't involved with this, and I just wanted to highlight the fact that Representative Greenman is a lawyer. And so lawyers were very much involved with this. But to the extent that we will be talking about how this impacts lawyers, that would be in the Judiciary Committee. And then I also just wanted to flag that the State Bar Association has a very rigorous process through the individual practice areas. I'm on one of those as a member of the Bar Association, and they raise up issues about bills, and I confirmed with the State Bar Association that they're not aware of any concerns within their membership, within those smaller committees about this bill. So I think that is important to state. Individual lawyers are allowed to have their opinions, but no lawyers as part of that Bar Association vetting process, which is very rigorous, have said that they have any concerns. And then I also just wanted to talk about the fee process because, Mr. LaCourt highlighted one example of someone charging, $300 an hour for what they did. I think another really great example from Ms. LaCourt at Goodhue County, talking about this Claimshark charging $6,000 for medical opinions generated by ChatGPT. And then that veteran got he was awarded 40%, and so they charged $6,000 for putting him through a lot of exams that apparently really weren't productive. And so Mr. Blomstrom talked about, that they have a contingency fee model and that model is based on a successful outcome. And I guess they would consider this a successful outcome for which they deserve to be paid. And he talked about sort of the moral and ethical approach to their fee structures. And I was looking at what is defined as a reasonable fee in the federal regulations that are incorporated here. And, they're reasonable. Like, I have my own law firm. Like, I have ethical rules about charging reasonable fees. And I believe, as a business owner, there are, like, a lot of good businesses, and I'm sure that some of these organizations are moral and ethical and responsible and providing a service for a reasonable fee. And the goal here is to figure out, like, what do we do about this clearly very pervasive business practice around these fee structures? And so I was wondering if Mr. Blomstrom could maybe talk about what he considers a reasonable fee and why that isn't clearly defined. It seems to me like a moral and ethical service provider would be really happy to comply with this federal law that's incorporated here. And I'm just curious how they set their fees, that was kind of an amorphous question, but that's my question for the service providers if they'd like to answer.
Okay, we can bring forward, yes, Mr. Blomstrom?
Madam Chair, thank you again. John Blomstrom for the record, Veterans Guardian. So Representative, our fee structure, again, contingency-based, meaning we don't charge the veteran upfront. We don't touch their back pay. For us, it is 5 times their monthly increase. And again, that aligns with the PLUS Act, which we're working on Congress with. That is in the 119th Congress, HR 1656. It states 5 times the monthly increase or $12,500, whichever is the lesser.
Representative Feist?
Yeah, thank you. So that's what you charge for something that people could get for free from qualified service providers. I'm just curious, like, what do you think about this example that was given in Goodhue County? Like, is that how you structure your fees, that if someone is awarded 40%, you would be entitled to $6,000? Do you think that's reasonable?
Madam Chair, may I answer?
Sure. Yep.
Thank you. Representative, what I intimated from the Goodhue County example was that was charged upfront. We do not charge upfront. That would be quite unreasonable to charge a veteran upfront for that fee for service. That is something we simply do not do.
Okay, just doing a time check. We have like 5.5 minutes left, and I've got like 4 people on the list, and plus closing comments. So Representative Feist.
Thank you so much. I'll be super fast. Yeah, so perhaps there are service providers who are providing reasonable fee. I don't know that I feel like any fee is reasonable if they can receive these services for free. I feel like a 2-week wait is pretty good for my law firm. I might schedule a consult out 2 weeks. That doesn't seem unreasonable. So I'll just leave it at that, but I think we obviously need guardrails here. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Co-Vice Chair Olson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have considerable concerns with this. I feel as though we're slamming a door shut, and there's nothing to fill the gap that there will be in this room. 280,000 Minnesota veterans, and all of a sudden, we take an entire area or arm of this section away. That's my biggest concern. I don't want us to look like what the VA was 10, 15 years ago when you couldn't get an appointment at the hospital and we were actually providing a disservice to our veterans. That is my number one concern. I really couldn't care less about lawyers. I'm sorry, I'm not one. If you make money, that's great. And if you don't make any money, that's also great. I don't really care. At the end of the day, my entire loyalty lies with my soldiers and my veterans. They're the ones that I owe greatly to. And having a gap where all of a sudden we see people frantically scrambling to say we need more VSOs, we need more this, we need more that, and then having to respond in kind, there will be a gap in that service. I am really, really concerned about the concept of sending this away today. It has to, if we send this away today, it has to come back to us. We have to meet prior to it coming back. We have to get the stakeholders involved, and we have to have a fine-tuned piece of legislation that keeps options for soldiers, keeps options for veterans, and protects them at the exact same time. And so if that's the commitment that we have today, I'm okay with moving this. But if that is not the commitment that we have, and if we do not get all the stakeholders in the room, and we don't have this conversation, and we don't hash it out in the meantime, there is no way that I can support a bill like this. Thank you.
Representative Greenman?
For closing?
Any response, or do you want to hold it?
I mean, I think as I told the both co-chairs, we're working on this bill. What I will say is, Representative Olson, is the good news is what I heard from both our today and also when I checked after our conversation on the floor is that because Minnesota is not like other states, we have made a significant investment at the county and the state level to ensuring that there are people who can support, and you heard all of the various choices folks have, Veterans County Service Officers, the service organizations, accredited attorneys, of which I think there's 50 or 60 in Minnesota. And so what I heard from Hennepin County, which has the highest rate, is 1 to 3 days to have a conversation and get that going. And to me, 1 to 3 days, I don't have any idea if these organizations who can't actually fill out a claim for you or can't submit and track your claim, if they can call you back within longer than 1 to 3 days, but I think getting that service is really important. And so we should continue to talk about it. There were 2 issues raised, both an issue of lawyers, who I heard were both accredited. That is one issue that seems very different than the issue of the folks who are not accredited and maybe bumping up against the federal prohibition around charging for preparing, presenting, or persecuting any claim. Those are 2 issues. We should talk about both of them. Judiciary is the right place to talk about that. And this bill, I will come back here because I think it's also in the governor's policy budget, and I think it'll move through this committee.
Thank you. All right, Representative Durand, you got like 20 seconds.
I'll make it quick then. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to actually echo a lot of what Rep. Olson said. He actually took a lot of the stuff out of my mouth here, which is, there's a little bit of concern for me because the fact that we're shutting down things. I'm probably one of the very few people in this room that have actually filed a report and claims for my own self and actually was successful at it. That was after multiple attempts as well, and then multiple attempts from the VSO before. I'm very, very close with my VSO inside my county. We are very close friends. We go on shooting trips. Hands down, he's a very good individual, okay? But to do this sort of legislation is, it's a concern of mine. I know that he gets bogged down. I know that there's a lot of people that have issues in other counties that may not be able to get the services that that are offered as fast. There are some veterans that just don't work with VSOs. They just don't. Let's be honest when it comes to that. So giving people more options is something that we should actually stick with, and cutting back on those options is something that we shouldn't do. We should hammer the people that are taking advantage of our veterans. Hands down, I'm with you guys, 100%, right?
Representative Duran, I'm so sorry, we gotta get going. Could you wrap up your comments, please?
So, when it comes down to it, this type of legislation does need some work on it. I'm happy to throw a hand in as well to make sure we're all coming out with a good bipartisan bill that affects everybody the same. So I hope we can work on this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair Bliss.
Thank you. And there is a definite need for the outside services. I personally know veterans that have went years trying to get their benefits and had to go outside. So there is a need. Our veteran service officers are wonderful people and they do yeoman's work. But this bill does need help. And we've spoken and we will pass this bill through the committee today. And but I do hope that you will work with the stakeholders, all of the stakeholders. And with that, Madam Chair, I would make a motion that this bill be re-referred to judiciary.
All right, so motion to refer this to judiciary. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Single? Okay, motion prevails. Underway to judiciary.